All right, friends, good morning. Hope you and yours are doing well. Let's talk some Torah. This week, Parshat VAYISHLACH, we've been talking about the power of asking each other's names, learning about each other. The first time we learned together, we talked about how the angel or the other that Jacob wrestles with says, "What is your name?" and helps transform Jacob. But the only way towards transformation was learning your neighbor's name, asking of each other, learning to connect. The second time that we learned together, we actually looked a little bit deeper at that, which is in order to understand how to love your neighbor, you have to understand what it is to love yourself and go through a journey of transformation. Hopefully, that leads to deeper self awareness. And self awareness is the most important way to do good in the world because without any self awareness, a person who intends to do good might end up simply reflecting their own needs, not actually acknowledging the needs of another. Self awareness can also lead to a way of helping others understand the changes that have happened within the self. If I haven't seen someone since I was 17, let's say, and then I see them today, they might assume that the same habits that I had when I was 17 are the habits that I have today. And they might act toward me the way that they would have acted toward my 17-year-old self, but I have been through a little bit since then, as has anyone who has continued growing, maturing, self reflecting. We end up walking as Jacob did, touched by those encounters, maybe even limping, psychologically, psychically, emotionally, but we are wiser by the wound. And it is important to reflect that self, not by pushing it out at anyone, but by acknowledging it. When Jacob and his brother Esav in this week's Parsha encounter each other again for the first time in many years, and remember the last time they saw each other was a terrible moment when Jacob deceived Esav and deceived their father Yitzchak and stole the birthright. Esav said, "I will kill him once our father has died." And Jacob runs for his life. Jacob has been through a tremendous amount since then, been deceived himself, created a family, and here he is about to be met by his estranged brother with 400 men, and Jacob is frightened. He sequesters himself away from his family, wrestles with an angel or with himself, or maybe both, and then he sees Esav again. What will happen? The text tells us that they kiss each other. They fall into each other's arms. It's no simple thing. Jacob has sent gifts in advance. He has offered tribute to his brother. They both seem to have grown quite a lot on the inside. And when they meet again, it's a new chance. And one of the first things that Jacob says might miss our attention. Im Lavan Garti. I have lived with Lavan, our uncle. Lavan is someone who we know because of past parts of the book of Genesis, of Breshit, he's not someone to be trusted. And so one of the things that Jacob might be saying to his brother Esav is, I've had a really hard time. I have more than paid for the ill that I have done in the world. I have learned what it is to be deceived. I will not be that self anymore. I've corrected my inside. I've done a cheshbon nefesh. Rabbis have interpreted that phrase, though, in interesting ways. Im Lavan Garti, I have lived with Lavan. Garti, which means I have lived, if you rearrange the letters, is Taryag, Taf Resh Yud Gimel, which actually is the numerical value of 613. And 613, for those who don't know, is the number of commandments in the Torah. So the rabbis derive, it's a fun wordplay. They say, Jacob is saying, I've lived with Lavan, but I am still a faithful child of our family. I'm a good Jew, he's saying. I've lived with Lavan, but Garti, Taryag, I have followed all the mitzvot. But there are hidden messages that go deeper than that, because that's about conduct, not about character. So listen to what the Alshich says. Rabbi Moshe Alshich, who was a 16th century Torah scholar, he says, that Jacob's words contain a subliminal message. When you last knew me, I was a person easily influenced by my surroundings, unable to stand up for myself. And we know that that's true in the story because Rebekah, their mother, manipulates Jacob to dress up like Esau to deceive their father. It is so tangled. I've always wondered, what must it have felt like to be Jacob? Yes, he gets blamed with being the deceiver, and he did perpetrate it, but his mother forced him to do it. This is a tangled story, friends. No one ends up looking great. So he said, I used to be easily influenceable. I couldn't stand up to Lavan at first either. We know because in his first attempt to marry Rachel, he is deceived and marries Leah. But eventually he learns what it is to be a self, to need external affirmation just a little bit less, to have a strong sense of who I am. He's wrestled, hasn't he? But I've always known what was important, the mitzvot, according to the Alshich. Right? I've always known to keep the mitzvot no matter where I have been or who I've been around. And I have become strong. I lived with Lavan for 20 years and he couldn't change me. I've become stronger. Now the Alshich says, I've become stronger so I can stand up to you, Esav. But that's actually not the way I hope we'll read this text. Former estranged siblings can stand near each other if they both do their work on the inside. And they can say, I've been through a lot. They each should be able to say, I've been through a lot, and what I want is to stand near you. I'm not worried about what, God forbid, someone else will make me do anymore, because that's not who I am. I am wiser by the wound. I've wrestled with my inner angels and demons and self, and I am on the other side of the river now. I'm still going to do my work. If both parts of a relationship, if both members in a strained relationship can do their work, just think about the peace that could emerge. It takes both. It takes two. Two human beings wiser by the wound can love each other once again, as Esav and Yaakov did. They hugged each other. They cried on each other. Of course they did. How could they not? They've been through so much. Now, levels of interpretation through Jewish history remain mistrustful of Esav's intent, so much so that when the text says that they hugged and kissed, there are dots and indications in the text that rabbis have chosen to read as a way of saying Esav didn't mean it. But why should we assume that? Why should I assume that I'm the only one who did my inner work? I'm the only one who wrestled with my angels and demons. I'm not the only one. We can be friends again. We must be friends again if our family is to heal. And by family, I mean our families. I mean our neighbors. I mean those fellow citizens who vote differently. I mean those people of different religions who historically have used the word God to misrepresent God's greatest hope, which is peace. Why can't we hold each other, friends? The answer is we can, if we do our work. So I bless you. I bless you not to enjoy the wrestling, because often it does wound us in ways that are not visible to the eye. To do this work can be exhausting, but I'm telling you, having done much of this work and committing to still do it, we might walk wounded as our ancestor Jacob did, but we will also, if we are wise, be blessed to hold each other tenderly, to learn how to trust wisely, and to build a better world for our children who deserve it. When you read the book of Breshit, again, no one looks great. But if we read the book of Breshit and we see the mistakes our ancestors made and the repairs they tried to make, how blessed, how fortunate, how lucky our children will be, and how blessed we might even be to witness a change in history. Better. Peace. May we be so blessed, friends. Let's go into a good day. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.